The Girl with Changing Skin. On a quiet planet far away from Earth, there lived a girl named Siren. She looked like a normal girl. 2 eyes, long hair, and a soft voice. But there was one thing different about her. Her skin changed color with every emotion she felt. When Siren was happy, her skin turned a bright gold. When she was sad, it became a deep blue. When she felt angry, it turned red like fire. And when she was scared, it shimmered a cold silver. Her body could not hide feelings. Every emotion showed up in color. But on her planet, feelings were not allowed. People lived like machines. No laughing, no crying, no love. Emotion was seen as a danger, the threat. Showing your feelings could get you punished or even disappear forever. Siren remembered the day her mother smiled in public. Just once. Guards came that night. Her parents were taken away. She never saw them again. Now Siren lived alone, in a small gray house on the edge of the forest. She wore thick, long clothes to hide her skin, even in the heat. At school, she kept her head down. She never spoke much. She never made friends. She couldn't. If someone made her laugh, her skin would glow. If someone made her sad, her arms would turn blue. If she was touched, sometimes her whole body would light up. That would be the end. So she stayed silent, afraid, hiding. One night, something strange happened. A loud boom shook the sky. The ground rumbled. Siren ran outside. In the distance, near the forest, she saw fire and smoke. A ship had crashed. A real spaceship, one that didn't belong to her planet. She had never seen anything like it before. It was metal, shining, and shaped like a triangle. She wanted to run back inside, but something pulled her forward. Her heart beat fast. Her skin started to turn green, a color she didn't recognize. Was it curiosity? She walked through the trees, hiding behind branches, until she got close. There, standing in front of the broken ship, was a boy. Not like anyone from her world. He had light skin, short brown hair, and strange clothes. His leg was hurt. He looked around, breathing hard, holding a small blinking device in his hand. He looked human. Siren's eyes went wide. She had heard of Earth people. Long ago, stories said they had emotion in their hearts. They lived with love, laughter, and even sadness. But no one had seen a human in hundreds of years. She took a step closer. The boy turned sharply, as if he heard something. Siren ducked behind a tree. Her heart raced. Her skin glowed pink. Another new color. She watched the boy for hours from the trees. He tried to fix something on the ship but kept falling. His face looked tired, worried, and alone. Siren felt something strange in her chest. Was it sympathy? The next day, she brought him food, quietly placing it on a rock near the ship. She didn't show her face. She did it again the next day, and the next. The boy began to wait for the food. Sometimes he smiled when he saw it. Sometimes he looked toward the trees and whispered something. She didn't understand his words, but somehow she understood his feeling. He was saying thank you. Then one night, everything changed. Siren stepped out from behind the trees. She didn't mean to. She had watched him for so long. She felt safe, even if she knew she shouldn't. The boy saw her. His eyes went wide. He slowly stood up, limping toward her. He didn't look scared. He looked surprised and kind. Siren froze. Her skin began to shift. Blue for fear, gold for joy, silver for nervousness, pink for curiosity. So many colors at once. Her whole body shimmered like a living rainbow. The boy raised his hand. Slowly, gently. And then he touched her hand. Just for a second. And in that second, Siren's skin turned white. Not clear, not glowing. Pure white. Her breath caught. She had never seen this color before. It was like peace, warmth, and something she couldn't name. Then everything went dark. She collapsed to the ground. The boy shouted something, but Seren couldn't hear. All she saw before closing her eyes was his face, full of worry. The boy from the sky. When Seren opened her eyes, the world felt quiet. Too quiet. She blinked slowly, her vision blurry. Soft morning light poured in through the cracks in her wooden roof. Birds chirped outside. Wind rustled the trees. Everything felt normal. Except one thing. Her skin was still white. She gasped and sat up fast. That had never happened before. Her skin always returned to normal after sleep. But this time, her arms, her hands, everything was glowing a soft, calm white. She touched her chest. It felt warm. It felt human. Then she remembered. The crash. The forest. The boy. He had touched her. Seren stood up quickly. Her heart was racing. Her mind full of questions. Who was he? Where did he come from? And why did his touch change her? She put on her thick coat, covering her glowing skin, and ran toward the forest without even thinking. The crashed ship was still there, hidden between thick trees and smoke. The ground was black with burn marks, and metal pieces lay scattered everywhere. The air smelled like fire and oil. But the boy was gone. "Hello," she whispered, stepping carefully. No answer. "Are you there?" She called again, louder this time. Then, from behind the wreck, she heard a soft sound, like a whimper. Seren rushed forward and found him. He was lying on the ground, his legs still hurt. His clothes were dirty, and his face looked pale. But his eyes opened slowly when he saw her, and he smiled. "You came back," he said weakly, in a voice full of surprise and relief. Seren didn't know what the words meant, but she understood him. His eyes spoke more than his mouth. She knelt beside him, opened her small bag, and took out food. Bread, fruit, and a small bottle of water. The boy looked at the food like it was magic. He ate slowly, carefully, as if it was his first real meal in days. Seren watched him. Every move he made, every time he looked at her, her skin started to shimmer white again. She didn't hide it this time. The boy finished eating and pointed to himself. "Jace," he said clearly. "My name is Jace." Seren looked at him. "Seren," she replied quietly, touching her chest. "Seren," he repeated, smiling. That smile made her heart feel light. She didn't know why, but it did. Then he pointed to the sky. He made a flying motion with his hands, and then pointed to his broken ship. "Crash," he said. "My ship. Broken." Seren nodded slowly. She understood now. He came from above. From space. Maybe even from Earth. Jace looked sad for a moment. He touched his hurt leg and frowned. Seren stood up and offered her hand. He looked at her, surprised. Then he smiled again, took her hand gently, and white light spread across her fingers. They began to meet every day after that. Seren brought more food, warm blankets, and water. She also brought soft cloth to help wrap his wound. Jace started to walk slowly with a stick, limping but stronger each day. They couldn't speak the same language, but they found a way. They drew pictures on the dirt. They pointed at stars. They shared stories through signs, smiles, and looks. And slowly, something deeper began to grow between them. Not just friendship, not just kindness, but something that made Seren's heart beat faster every time she saw him. Connection. Jace showed her small devices from his bag. One made music. Another showed moving lights like stars. Seren watched with wide eyes. Her world had no music, no art, no beauty like this. And every time she laughed, her skin turned gold and stayed gold longer than before. For the first time in her life, she wasn't afraid of her emotions. For the first time, she felt free. But not everything was safe. One evening, Seren was returning from Jace's camp when she saw something strange in the sky. 3 black drones flying in formation. They were scanning the forest with red lights. Emotion drones. She gasped and ran home, pulling her coat tighter to hide her skin. They were looking for her. Her colors, her feelings, her light. That night, she couldn't sleep. She stood in front of her small mirror, removed her coat, and stared at her glowing white skin. What had Jace done to her? Was it his touch, his kindness, his world? Whatever it was, it had unlocked something inside her, something she could no longer hide. At sunrise, she rushed back to him. "Jace," she said, breathless. "Danger." She pointed to the sky, mimicking the drones. Jace looked worried. He pulled out a small glowing cube and pressed it. A map appeared in the air. He pointed to a spot deep in the mountains. "Safe," he said. Then he looked at her. "Come with me." Siren stared at him. "Go with him. Leave everything behind." Her home, her past, her fear. Her skin shimmered. Gold, pink, white, silver. She had never felt so many things at once. She nodded, and without another word, they began their escape, together. The first touch. The mountain air was colder than Siren expected. Each breath came out as fog. Her boots crunched on frost-covered leaves as she followed Jace through the narrow trail between the cliffs. Behind them, the forest disappeared into a sea of blue mist. In front of them, only silence. But silence didn't mean safety. Not anymore. She looked at the boy walking just ahead of her. Jace moved with a slow limp, using a stick as support. He still smiled at her every time he looked back, but his eyes held something new now. Worry. The drones were searching. The government had seen the color on her skin. White. A color never recorded before. They didn't know what it meant. But to them, it meant danger. Emotion that strong was a threat. That night, they found a small cave. Jace used one of his earth tools to start a fire. It crackled softly as they sat near it, huddled close. Siren watched the flames flicker, warm and golden. She had only ever seen fire in school books. Never like this. She took off her coat slowly, revealing her skin. It shimmered softly in the firelight. Not gold, not blue. Still white. Jace stared at it, fascinated. He pointed. Still glowing. Siren nodded. "Since you touched." Jace looked at her hand. Then he looked into her eyes. His voice was softer now. "May I touch again?" Siren hesitated. Then slowly she reached out. When his hand met hers, a soft pulse moved between them. Her body felt light, almost floating. Her skin lit up again, but this time not just white. It shimmered with small moving lights, like stars beneath her skin. Jace didn't pull back. He just whispered, "Beautiful." Something changed that night. Not just on her skin, but in her heart. They stayed close, not speaking much, just sitting near the fire, fingers touching, breathing slowly. Siren had never felt so peaceful. For the first time, her emotions were not enemies. They were part of her. But the peace did not last. The next morning, a loud humming noise filled the sky. The cave walls shook. Jace jumped to his feet, grabbing Siren's hand. She turned her head toward the cave's entrance and froze. 3 black drones hovered outside. Their red lights scanned the cave. One of them blinked twice. "Target found." "Run," Jace shouted. They darted through the back of the cave into the trees. Lasers fired behind them, lighting the branches on fire. The air was hot. Smoke rose fast. Siren's legs were shaking. Her skin flickered between silver and blue. Fear and panic. Jace led the way, dodging rocks and roots. Then, he stopped. In front of them stood a figure in black armor, a government enforcer. The man lifted his hand. "Subject Siren, you are under arrest for violation of emotion protocol." Siren stepped forward. Her voice was trembling. "No," she said. "I'm not a danger. I'm just feeling." The enforcer raised a small metal rod. "Return with us. We will reset your system. Your emotions will be removed. You will be clean again." Siren's heart dropped. Erase her feelings. Erase her memories. Erase Jace. She looked at Jace, and in that moment, something inside her rose like fire. She stood tall. "No," she whispered. "I won't go." Her skin began to glow, not in fear, not in panic, but in a strong, steady white light. The color spread from her hands to her arms, to her face, until her whole body was shining like a small sun. The enforcer stepped back, confused. "What is this?" he muttered. Suddenly, Siren took Jace's hand and ran straight toward the enforcer. The light from her body exploded outward, blinding everyone for a second. The enforcer fell to the ground, stunned. Jace and Siren ran deeper into the forest, not stopping until the air turned still again. They finally stopped beside a quiet stream. Both were out of breath. Jace looked at her, his eyes wide, amazed. "Siren, what did you do?" She didn't know, but something had changed again. She felt stronger. Her emotions didn't just show color now. They created energy, power. And it all started with his touch. As they sat by the stream, Siren spoke softly. "When I was young," she said, "my parents were taken. They laughed in front of others. Just once. That was enough. I was told feelings make you weak. That to survive, we must be empty." Jace listened carefully. "But now," Siren continued, "you touched me. And for the first time, I felt whole." Jace reached for her hand again. "No one should have to live without feeling," he said. Their fingers met. A spark ran between them, and her skin turned into dancing waves of white, silver, and gold, like starlight flowing in water. Jace pulled out a small device from his pocket. It beeped quietly. "What is that?" Siren asked. "It's a beacon," Jace said. "It will call someone. Maybe someone who can help us. Someone who knows what you are." Siren looked at the sky. She didn't know who would come. But she knew one thing now. She was not broken. She was not a mistake. She was something new. Something the world had never seen before. And she wasn't afraid anymore. Run from the law. The sun hadn't risen yet, but the sky was already turning a dull gray. Birds stopped singing. The wind went still, and far behind them, a low hum began to rise in the distance. Jace turned his head sharply. Siren didn't need to ask. They were coming. They had only rested for a few hours. Siren had laid her head on a patch of soft moss, while Jace watched the blinking light on his beacon. His signal was out there now, reaching into space, calling anyone who might understand what Siren had become. But they were out of time. The drones were back, and this time, they were not alone. Siren grabbed her small bag. "We have to move." Jace nodded, already folding his map. He checked the device on his wrist. It glowed red. 3 kilometers west, he said, pointing. "There's a cave system. Deep, old, hard to find on scanners." Siren didn't wait for another word. She was already running. The ground beneath them was rough and cold. Sharp rocks cut through the soles of her boots. Twisted trees reached out like claws, and vines snapped under their feet. Behind them, the sound grew louder. Mechanical wings, electric pulses, and echoed voices through the air. "Subject Siren. Surrender immediately." Her name, on speakers. They were serious now. Jace gritted his teeth and helped her climb over a steep ledge. Just as they reached the top, a drone fired. The ground exploded beside them. Dirt flew into the air. A piece of rock hit Siren's arm. Blood dripped down her sleeve. Her skin turned deep red, then blue, then back to white. But it didn't matter. She kept running. They finally reached the mouth of the cave. It was hidden behind a wall of twisted vines and thorns. Jace pulled them aside, revealing a narrow entrance. "Inside," he whispered, They slid in just as another drone fired again, barely missing the opening. Inside, it was dark, cold, silent, but they were safe for now. Jace sat beside her, breathing hard. Siren looked at the blood on her arm. It was already drying. She reached out and touched Jace's shoulder. "Thank you for not leaving." He smiled. "I promised." Her skin began to glow again. But something was different. This time, the light didn't just shine. It moved. It formed lines like veins of energy crawling across her arms in patterns. Her hands glowed like starlight. Her heartbeat echoed in her fingertips. Jace stared. "Siren, your skin, it's evolving." She looked down. And for the first time, she didn't feel fear. She felt power. They walked deeper into the cave. Jace held a small light in his hand. It showed strange carvings on the cave walls, symbols Siren didn't understand. But they felt familiar. She ran her fingers across one of the markings. Suddenly, her body trembled. Her skin lit up, not white now, but a deep glowing blue with golden edges. Memories flooded her mind. Images, sounds, a woman's voice, a child's cry, a group of scientists. And her name. Siren, Project Number 9, Emotion Reactor. She gasped and stumbled backward. "What is it?" Jace caught her. I think I was made here." The cave wasn't just a hiding place. It was a lab. An old secret lab, buried deep under rock, forgotten by time. Here, people had once experimented on children. Children like her. To control emotion, to turn feelings into energy. She wasn't a random mistake. She was created. Jace helped her sit down. "You were part of something bigger," he said gently. "Maybe the beacon will reach someone who knows the truth." Siren looked into the dark, or someone who fears it. Suddenly, the cave began to shake. A booming sound echoed from above. Then, cracks formed on the ceiling. "They found us," Jace whispered. "No," Siren said quietly. "They always knew." The ceiling exploded. Rocks fell. Drones dropped down from above, shining bright red lights. Behind them, a tall figure in white armor lowered down on a cable. A woman. Her face was sharp, cold, eyes glowing blue. "Siren," she said, "you were never meant to survive. Return now. You are dangerous." Siren stood slowly. Her skin began to glow again. This time, not white, not gold, but a deep blazing violet. The woman stepped back. "What is that color?" Siren clenched her fists. "A color you never planned for." The cave shook harder. Her body was lighting the room. Drones tried to scan her, but the signals bounced back, confused. Jace stood beside her. "If you hurt her," he warned, "you'll see what real danger looks like." The woman raised her hand. "Destroy them." But the moment the drones moved, Siren closed her eyes. And the light from her skin burst outward like an energy wave. It wasn't just color anymore. It was force. The drones were thrown against the walls. The woman screamed as the room lit up like a star had exploded. Then, silence. The room went dark. Siren collapsed to the ground, breathing hard. Jace rushed to her side. You did it." She opened her eyes. Her skin was calm again, white, soft, and glowing. "No," she whispered. "We did it." Far above them, in the sky, a tiny blue ship picked up the last signal from Jace's beacon. And someone began to move. The secret lab. The smoke in the cave was thick. Pieces of metal lay across the floor. Broken drones sparked quietly in the corners. The armored woman was gone, swept away by Siren's power. The silence felt heavy. Jace sat beside Siren, holding her hand. She was awake, but her breathing was slow. Her eyes were distant, staring into the stone walls like she saw something far beyond them. Her skin still glowed, soft white, with fading lines of violet running under it like slow lightning. She whispered, "I didn't know I could do that." Jace nodded. Neither did they. They stayed inside the cave for hours. Jace made a small fire again, using earth tools. Sirin rested near it, thinking, remembering. Those flashes in her mind from before, memories that weren't just memories. They felt more like someone else's voice speaking inside her, a voice that said, "Emotion is power. If she feels too much, she becomes unstable. But if we teach her to feel nothing, she becomes a tool." Sirin looked up at the cave walls. They were covered in symbols. Old ones, not just written by scientists, but drawn by children. Small handprints, names, even drawings of smiling faces. This place was once full of life. Her life. Jace noticed a large stone slab near the back of the chamber. It looked like part of the wall, but slightly different in color. He ran his hand over it. Click. The slab moved back with a hiss and opened into a hidden door. A dark hallway stretched beyond it. Cold air rushed out. Sirin stood up slowly, her body still glowing faintly. "Let's go," she whispered. They walked side by side into the hallway. The walls here were smooth metal, not stone. The lights flickered on as they passed. Down the corridor, they reached a large locked door. On it, a symbol, a heart made of glowing lines, split in half. Below it were the words, Project EM9, Emotion Module, Human/Hybrid Trial. Sirin froze. EM9. That was her. Jace found a small control panel on the wall. He touched it, and the screen came to life. A woman's face appeared. Not a real woman, a hologram. She looked kind, gentle eyes, soft voice. "Welcome back, Sirin. If you're watching this, then you survived." Sirin stepped closer. Her heart was pounding. "You were our most advanced creation. Not a weapon, not a tool, but hope." The voice continued. "They wanted to erase emotion from the galaxy. They feared it. But we believed emotion could be more than danger. It could be light. It could be life." The woman smiled. "We hid you before they shut us down. We hoped that one day you would remember." The screen turned off. Silence again. Sirin touched the glass. "She knew me," she said quietly. "She protected me." Jace nodded. "Maybe she was your mother, or someone who raised you." Sirin's eyes filled with tears, but she didn't cry. Instead, her skin turned a soft pink. Inside the room, they found old files, data pads, and broken machines. Jace studied one of the screens. "There were 10 children here," he said. 10 projects. Sirin's eyes widened. 10. Jace pointed to a list on the screen. EM1, failed. EM2, terminated. EM3, lost control. EM4, terminated. EM5, stable for 6 months. EM6, terminated. EM7, escaped. EM8, erased. EM9, Sirin. EM10, status, unknown. Sirin stepped back. "There's another one." Before she could say more, the room's lights flickered. A loud beep echoed. Then a voice. "Unauthorized access detected." The door behind them sealed shut with a heavy clang. Jace pulled out his small blaster. "We've got company." From a side chamber, a new drone appeared, but not like the others. This one was gold, sleek, silent. It didn't attack. Instead, it scanned Sirin, then said, "Welcome. You have returned. EM10 has been waiting." Sirin and Jace exchanged a glance. "Take us," she said. The drone floated through a back tunnel. At the end was a room, circular, with tall windows showing the stars outside through hidden cracks in the mountain. And in the middle of the room, a boy, sitting alone, eyes closed, floating just above the ground. His skin glowed a deep, soft blue. The same kind of glow Siren had, but colder. Controlled. Still. The drone whispered, M10. The boy opened his eyes. They were bright silver. He looked at Siren and smiled. I knew you'd come, he said softly. Sister. Siren's breath caught. Sister. He floated down and stood before her. I'm Callan. They created us together. I was the one they kept locked away when you escaped. He looked at Jace. You brought someone from Earth. Interesting. Siren stepped forward. Why are you still here? Callan's smile faded. Because I stayed still. I didn't run. I followed orders. I let them use me. But now, I've changed too. His skin shifted color, from blue to sharp red. Anger. Jace stepped forward. He's unstable. Callan laughed softly. I waited for you. I thought together we'd finish what they started. Siren's heart raced. What do you mean? Callan raised his hand. Lights exploded around him. I mean, we take back the world. He chose her. The air in the chamber grew colder. The walls of the ancient lab seemed to hum with quiet warning. Dust floated in the beams of light filtering down from the cracked ceiling, but even that light seemed to hesitate. Jace stepped slightly in front of Siren, shielding her. Callan stood still, his silver eyes locked on hers. You and I were born from the same experiment, he said, voice calm but sharp. We were created to feel, but also to control emotion. They feared it, but we can command it now. Siren shook her head slowly. We were meant to bring hope, not fear. Callan's soft smile faded. You still believe that, after what they did to us? His skin changed color again, this time a dull gray, pulsing like a thunderstorm. They erased our childhood, turned us into files. We were test subjects. You ran. I stayed. I remember everything. Siren felt her chest tighten. Jace spoke calmly. You don't have to be what they made you. Callan turned to him with a flicker of disdain. And you're just human. From a dying planet. You don't understand what it means to be built for more. Jace didn't flinch. Maybe not. But I know what it means to choose what's right. Siren stepped forward, her voice trembling but clear. We can still fix this, Callan. We can free others like us. We can help. You still think love will save the galaxy? He snapped. His skin flashed red, then back to blue. His emotions were unstable, burning too fast. I thought if I waited long enough, you'd come back. We'd rule this place, rewrite the world with our powers. But now, I see you've been corrupted. He looked at Jace again. You've let a human weaken you. The ground began to vibrate beneath them. The air thickened with static. Jace pulled Siren back slowly. He's about to lose control. Siren's skin shifted, soft white mixed with gold. She was calm, but afraid. I don't want to fight you, she said. Callan's voice grew cold. Then you'll fall with him. He raised both hands, and the entire chamber exploded in a wave of energy. Jace grabbed Siren, rolling behind a metal console as a blast tore through the room. Sparks flew. Lights shattered. Metal beams cracked. Callan hovered above the floor now, glowing like a storm, his body pulsing in red, silver, and dark purple. He wasn't walking. He was floating, eyes burning. I am no longer a subject, he roared. I am the evolution of emotion. Jace helped Siren up. We need to shut down his energy core. There has to be a source powering him. She nodded, eyes sharp. But inside, her heart broke. Callan was her brother, the only one left from her past. They shared blood, pain, memories. She didn't want to destroy him. But the power inside him was wild, unstable, dangerous. If he left this cave, he wouldn't just take down the lab. He could bring down entire cities. Jace spotted a glowing panel across the room. There, he shouted. That console, it's syncing with his neural system. Seren ran, using the cover of smoke and falling debris. Callan saw her too late. No, he screamed. He sent a shockwave toward her, but Jace stepped between them, holding up a small force shield. The blast hit Jace hard. He flew backward, slamming into the wall. Jace, Seren screamed. She turned toward him, but her skin burned white-hot now. Her eyes shone with a fire she had never felt before. This wasn't fear. It was rage born from love. She turned to Callan. I won't let you hurt him. Her skin exploded into color. White, gold, violet, crimson, blue. All of them. At once. The chamber filled with a light so bright it silenced the room. Callan hovered in place, stunned. What are you? Seren stepped forward. I'm not just your sister. I'm not just a project. She raised her hands. Light spiraled around her like ribbons in the air. I am every emotion they try to erase. She struck her hands together, and the light formed a wave that surged through the chamber. It hit Callan's energy field directly. Callan dropped to his knees. His glow dimmed. His breathing slowed. Seren walked to him carefully. Let me help you, she said softly. Callan looked up. And for one moment, he didn't look like a villain. He looked like a scared boy, a child left behind. I was so alone, he whispered. Tears welled in Seren's eyes. So was I. They reached out. Fingers touched. And for a heartbeat, her light and his dark energy swirled together. But Callan pulled away. No, I can't be saved, he muttered. Then he looked toward Jace. And he will never understand us. He raised his hand again. But this time, Seren moved first. She struck her palm to the ground, and a wave of emotion light erupted from her body. It surrounded Callan in a cocoon of glowing color. He froze. His powers halted midair, his eyes wide. I forgive you, Seren whispered, and the light swallowed him whole. When the brightness faded, Callan lay on the floor, unconscious, alive. But his energy was gone. The threat was over. Jace slowly stood, holding his ribs. It's he. Seren nodded. He's sleeping now, peacefully. Jace walked to her side. You could have killed him. Seren looked at her hands, still glowing softly. I couldn't, she said. He was made like me. But he lost hope. I still have mine. Jace smiled. And so do I. Outside, the mountain rumbled again. They carried Callan to a quiet chamber and sealed it for his safety. If he ever woke, he would need healing. Time. Maybe redemption. Then Seren and Jace returned to the surface. The sky had cleared. The stars above shone brighter than ever before. Jace looked up. The beacon worked, he whispered. Help is coming. A soft blue light streaked across the sky. A rescue ship. Seren turned to Jace. You could go home now. He looked at her. My home is wherever you are. She smiled. And for the first time, the color on her skin became something new. A mix of white and blue and pink, like the sunrise after a long night. It was a color never seen before. It was the color of love. A new dawn on her planet. The ship from Earth landed quietly at the edge of the mountain. Its soft blue lights cut through the trees, brushing against the broken rocks of the old lab. It made no sound, no thunder, no show of power. It came with peace, and peace was what the world needed now. Seren stood at the top of the ridge, the wind brushing gently against her glowing skin. She could see the cities far below, her old city, the place where people lived in silence, where no one laughed, where love was hidden and fear was law, where feelings were forbidden, but not anymore. Not if she could help it. Jace stepped beside her, quiet and thoughtful. He carried a small bag slung across his shoulder, full of memory chips from the lab. Data. Truth. Proof that their emotions were never weakness. that they had been controlled by lies. He looked at her. "You're ready?" he asked. Siren nodded slowly. Her skin shimmered, not red, not blue, not golden, but a steady silver-white light, soft like moonlight, strong like steel. "I was born to hide," she said. "Now I'm ready to be seen." They traveled down from the mountain by foot. No drones followed this time. No enforcers. No eyes watching. But the silence didn't feel safe. It felt expectant. As if the world itself was waiting to see what she would do next. Siren passed through forests, streams, and small villages. People peered from their windows. Some recognized her. Some whispered her name. A few turned away. But some stepped outside. They saw her skin. They saw the light. And they didn't call the guards. They watched. By the time Siren and Jace reached the city gates, dozens of people had begun walking behind them. Men, women, children. Some wore masks to hide their faces, but some had already taken them off. No one spoke. They just followed. Hope doesn't always shout. Sometimes it walks quietly, step by step, until the world finally sees it. The city's tall gray walls loomed ahead. Guards stood still, their metal suits shining under the sun. One raised a hand. "Name," he barked. Siren stepped forward. Her coat fell to the ground, and her skin lit up the street. Guards froze. Their scanners went wild. Lights flashed red. Siren spoke clearly, voice echoing across the courtyard. "My name is Siren, Project EM9, and I am not here to hide anymore." One of the guards lifted a weapon. But something unexpected happened. Another guard placed his hand on the weapon and pushed it down. "No," he whispered. "She's not attacking. Look." Siren stood with her arms open. Behind her, the crowd kept growing. More and more people came out of homes, shops, schools. Some glowing softly, some trembling, but all of them feeling. Jace stepped beside her and activated the memory chip. A giant hologram appeared in the sky above the square. The image of the woman from the lab. She spoke in a calm voice. "Emotion is not danger. Emotion is life. It gives us color, connection, courage. We were never meant to be machines. We were always meant to be more." The crowd stood silent, eyes lifted. For many, it was the first time they'd heard such words. For others, it was the first time they believed them. Then, from the balcony of the city tower, a man stepped out. The High Minister. He looked down at the glowing girl in the square. His voice crackled through speakers. "You threaten order, Siren. You bring chaos to a peaceful world." Siren looked up at him. "No," she replied. "You brought fear. I bring truth." The minister's hand hovered over a control pad. The city could still be locked down. Sirens could still be called. But then, a little girl stepped forward from the crowd. She removed her gloves, and her tiny hands glowed golden. She smiled. The minister paused. Then, a boy followed. His skin shimmered soft green. An elderly woman next. Her palms pulsed with a pale pink light. The crowd moved as one. Colors began to spread through the square, soft glows of every shade. Not weapons, not war, just feeling. The minister took a step back. He dropped the control pad. He turned away. And the speakers went silent. The square remained still for a moment. Then a sound began to rise. Soft, small, but full of power. Applause. It spread like a wave. People clapping, cheering, crying, laughing, all at once. For the first time in decades, the city was alive. Siren turned to Jace. Tears rolled down her cheeks, glowing like liquid light. "You did it," he said. She shook her head. "No, we did." Weeks passed. The city changed. The emotion law was removed. People began to feel again, openly, proudly. Art returned. Music, laughter, touch, even grief had its place. Because in sadness, they learned to heal together. The mountain lot was sealed and protected, not hidden, but remembered. Sirin returned often to visit Callan. He remained unconscious, peaceful. But one day, maybe, he would wake up and feel again. Sirin and Jace lived in a small garden house at the city's edge. Simple, quiet, full of light. People came to her not to worship, but to learn. She taught children about colors, how to listen to their emotions, how to understand them, how to use them, not to destroy, but to connect. One evening, as the sun set in glowing orange across the rooftops, Jace stood with Sirin on the balcony. He looked out at the city below. "Do you miss Earth?" she asked. Jace smiled and took her hand. "Not for a second," he said. "This world has finally learned how to feel." Sirin looked at him. Her skin shimmered softly. A color not seen before. A color even she didn't have a name for. It was warm, gentle, brave, and full of love. And in that light, a new world was born. A world not built on fear, but on feeling.